And welcome back to Artist on Art, Gamers on Game. I got Mike Treanor on. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, here, let me put on a microphone for you.
Okay, that'll help. Yeah,
this is so bittersweet, folks. I've known Mike since I came up here for getting my MFA in the Denim department. Mike was graduating. He did his Denim project in a game. He made a game, and then he went on into the PhD program here in the computer science department, and he is now graduating. Congratulations.
Yes, I am. That's right. 11 long years of UC Santa Cruz goodness is all packed into my head.
You're still standing, but your eyes are bright.
Oh, thank you.
And you've got some amazing places to go. Tell us what you're doing in the fall.
That's right. I accepted a position as a professor at American University in Washington, D.C.
I got the chills. Congratulations.
Starting a game program. And, we're hoping to develop it to make designer, programmer type people, because I think that is the way forward for neat, innovative games.
Innovative games, and as we were just talking with, lots of amazing product design. Basically, if you can imagine it, you can make it.
That's right. That's right. That is maybe why I got into games. Right. It allows you to make media experiences that are about almost anything you can imagine, including experiential things.
Right, which really is at the core of your work, because your first project was about discovery and figuring out who you are as you play this character, this slug type thing. What was it?
Yeah, it was a game where you went around, you took on the perspective of various creatures, and you tried to figure out what ways they looked around the environment, and literally in how did they move their head. And so it was about mimicking their movements. You'd go from a worm to a turtle to a mountain lion to an owl to finally a human.
Oh. And through it, you were able to figure out how to, locomotion, how you would move, and what have you been doing lately? Well, as a matter of fact, I know what you've been doing lately. You just had your defense.
That's right.
For your thesis, your PhD thesis last Monday. Tell us how it went.
I think it went really well. I've been working really hard on it for a long time, and so it's
been years.
It's been years, and I think it went well. My committee gave a lot of great feedback, and I passed, and everything is really done on Thursday.
Wow.
I'm revising a little bit.
Right. And then you graduate.
Then I graduate.
And then you go on. Tell us about your thesis.
So for the last 5 years in the PhD program, I've been really interested in what ways games are uniquely meaningful. And by meaningful, I mean about that could mean a lot of things. But I mean specifically how games can be uniquely about subjects, such as why do we believe SimCity is about a city, and how is it different than, say, a film about a city or an image of a city?
Right. And some of this is driven by your work on the Prom Week, which has been wildly successful indie game as far as accolades from the design world. And so Prom Week goes back a couple years. I remember I saw the prototype 2 years ago.
It was like a 3-year project, so there's many incarnations through the years have been around.
And so you get to play various characters in high school getting ready for the prom and trying to figure out how they can get a prom date. And there's one guy that you can play. Is it one person that you really get to figure out strategically, if you're nice to this girl, what happens to your social standing, or if you're mean to this boy, maybe your social standing goes up, and all those crazy high school ways that it's kind of a nightmare, but y'all simulated it.
Yeah, that's right. So the interesting thing about Prom Week is that a very complicated simulation, and so every character had up to 5,000 thoughts about what they care about each other character at any moment in the game. But so from the it was really insane to make. I worked as one of the lead designers and programmers on that, but also with other people who have been on the show talking about it.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. So Prom Week, in terms of my thesis, is I created it with a a authorial intent, and I wanted to represent aspects of more than represent a particular story about a high school and silly kids. I was interested in representing a theory of social interaction.
So when you say authorial intent, as the author, okay, explain that to us.
Yeah, exactly. So, if you take a fable or something, they make the authorial intent very clear, because they literally say, like, the moral of the story is, a fable has some narrative, some piece of fiction that at the end, the author really wants someone to walk away with, like, don't be mean to people or something, some message.
Or the wolf will eat you.
Or the wolf will eat you, yeah. Or a bad thing will happen to you in general. They hope you will generalize it. So a simulation game, or games in general, can, as opposed to just being one message, like don't be mean to people or something bad will happen to you, you can represent complicated systems in which we live. For example, the systems that or systematic ways of understanding the ways we relate to one another.
Particularly in a high school situation.
That's right.
Which really can bring out the worst and the best of us all.
Yeah. We picked the high school because it was easy to author for, right? Because there's so many potent memories you have where, like, okay, why? I could imagine making a consideration for one character where if I had a crush on this person and then my friend flirts with my crush, now I'm going to be a little angry at my friend. And so it was really easy to come up with these silly rules. Thousands of them.
And then next will be college dorm?
That's right, yeah. Prom week 2, the college years, yeah.
What happens when you move in the dorm?
I don't know.
I could be like,
Yeah.
So the authorial intent can be massively more complicated in a game platform. Is that right?
That's right, and it's not really what games allow us to do is represent things at a systematic level. Other media try to do this too. Like a film might try to represent a systematized oppression or poverty or something. I think like The Bicycle Thief is a movie that isn't trying to just represent, some guy stole a bicycle. It's like, no, some guy is entrenched in this situation, this economic situation that he's stuck in, which would create a situation where he would steal to help somebody. But I think games allow us to, because they actually are running systems on a computer, they're not static representations, say like a film, which kind of goes from start to finish. Games are running.
And they're dynamic.
And they allow us to represent these dynamic aspects.
And they allow us to interact with it, which then changes the dynamics.
That's right. And that's right. And so my dissertation is all about exploring these aspects. Prom week is a chapter where I talk specifically about simulation games.
Tell us some other chapters.
Yeah. So actually, I start very simple. I spend. This is going to sound crazy, but go for it. Who cares? Because it's real. I wrote so many pages in my dissertation. I wrote thousands of words about the ways that you can interpret a single collision between two entities in a game where, let's say, something on the screen collides with another one and then one of them disappears. So a simple example is if a human head collides with a hamburger disappears. What is it about that phenomenon that makes us think that could be a representation of a man eating a hamburger?
Right.
And it turns out one way to look at that is that there's this neat interplay between the game rules of the system where some abstract entity collides with another, because in a machine it doesn't know anything about humans and hamburgers. Those are pictures labeled on top of shapes. The computer's keeping track of shapes moving around. And so players come to these things, project meaning onto these static images of heads and hamburgers, but then it is the processes themselves, that the rules of the system that enable us to describe the phenomena as a man eating a burger.
That makes me a little dizzy.
Well, so really it's a lot of words to describe something dead simple that we all understand intuitively. But the goal, what's really neat is when you describe things at this level, it allows you to start implementing. So I describe things at a very fine level of detail of game situations that we understand intuitively, and it allows us to implement it on a computer. And so I created, with other people, something called Game-O-Matic, which is a game generation tool that allows anyone to specify input such as a man eats a burger, and then you say, give me a game, and the system is able to put together a simple, silly arcade game that represents that message of a man eating a burger.
So would then the happy ending, the winning of the game, is when the hamburger is eaten?
That's right. It might spit out a game where it says, you control the man, and collect as many burgers as you can, and then the game is about using the arrow keys to drive a little picture of a man that is chasing these burgers which are flying around, right? Yeah, and so, no, that's a silly example, but it was actually created to enable... there's a genre of game called news games, which are simple little web games made to critique or comment on a current event. And so, and usually, since games are so hard to make, by the time you finish your game about some subject, it's not relevant anymore. So we wanted to make this tool that allows anybody to make a game in like 5 minutes or less. I mean, it literally takes 2 minutes to make a game.
I see so many possibilities for that, especially like, finals. My daughter's in finals this week, so she developed a ukulele song to memorize her medieval history dates. So it was brilliant. She remembers them better than she's ever remembered anything. So this would be a similar thing. You could do like a medieval dates game, and it would create a game, and then you get to play it and learn the dates, right?
Yeah. I mean, the games are pretty ridiculous and simple, but so I don't know if we would be learning or memorizing a whole lot of things. But what it does allow people to do is express themselves using games. So, so if you were stressed out about your test, you can make a game where it is, test stresses out Mike, and Mike's running out of time, and that would be the input. And you go, beep, and then you get this silly game. You post it on Facebook, and then your friends, oh, that's so funny. That's how I feel too, or something, right? And,
right. So it's interesting. So you start with how the human brings their perspective to watching the game play. Like you were starting from there, but then you went into how that then allows that person to express themselves in that game. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So by analyzing, by having this theoretical approach that talked forever about collision and what it can mean, it allowed us to describe patterns of gameplay and what they might represent. And now once we've described these patterns, like how would you represent something eating something, how would you represent something chasing something, now we make the system which assembles games of these patterns together into arcade games.
And that then enables the user participant to create their own game.
That's right, and people who don't know anything about technology whatsoever can use this thing. Now, of course, it's still in development. And
what's it called again?
It's Game-O-Matic.
Game-O-Matic.com, folks.
That's right.
Is it at Game-O-Matic?
It is, yeah.
Oh, and if you want to see Mike's work, you can go to Treanor.com. I know it's a little old, but that was all I could find.
No, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been
You've
writing
been busy.
other things.
Yeah, it's funny because it does stop October 2012, which is probably when you really got into it.
Yeah, that's where I picked up stuff.
And then I also wanted to mention Kate Compton's work. She has a website that is Seebright, SEEbright.com. Let me get you up.
Is this mic live? Yeah.
That's your mic.
Okay. Yeah, it's. I wanted to mention the site for my company, Seebright.com. It's like the beach, only it's a pun on seeing, because we're trying to get developers for our augmented reality helmets. So if you're a developer of iPhone type stuff that's interested in developing for an augmented reality device, it's super easy to develop for. Please visit our site.
Great, and that's Seebright.com. Also, you will be able to see both of these links on artistonart.com. I'll make sure that everything that Mike is talking about and Kate Compton talked about earlier will be on the posts for this show. So, Mike, you've finished. You're on your way. You wrote a lot. What are some of the maybe most surprising insights that you discovered during this process?
Specifically about the content of my research?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll talk about this game, Burger Time. I know I'm talking about burgers a lot. I'm actually not very
hungry.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting hungry. So it turns out what I did this really almost tongue-in-cheek approach where I wanted to interpret this Burger Time, which is a classic arcade game about a chef. It kind of looks like Donkey Kong, the first one, but you're running across like giant patties and buns. And so I was like, I want to interpret this game. What does this game mean? What does it represent? And so you start and you, I don't know the best way to do this, but there is to explain this quickly. But when you collide with pieces of burgers, they eventually form into whole burgers. So it's like, okay, a chef prepares a burger. But at the same time, when you collide with other foods like an egg or a pickle, you lose a life. And so, well, wait, I thought chefs prepared food, but now I'm dying if I collide with hot dogs and eggs. And so what I found through doing a very deep analysis of expert Burger Time players is that these players are actually grouping together these pieces of food, these hot dogs and pickles. They never collide with them, and then they actually mix them into the whole giant burgers as they go. So in fact, the chef is using them. Now, why do I care about this? One, because it's hilarious and fun, and two, because by what I was essentially doing was doing a deep reading like people are taught to do in high school English classes. Pick a passage and write about the cadence and whatever this poem. I was doing that with this game Burger Time, and what I discovered was a new expressive possibility for games, which was expert high-level play. That you, as an author of a game, you can you can create metaphors that are available only for expert players of the game, and that was really interesting.
Huh.
Yeah. And
this emerged
by doing this really fun analysis of Burger Time, which watched a lot of Burger Time videos.
Gameplay of Burger Time.
And so my research often involves these kind of ridiculous theoretical quests to read way too much into a collision in a game or something like that. But then I turn that around into concrete technical systems that are interesting and valuable. Yeah. Like Game-O-Matic, for example, is the result of that kind of research.
Right. Yeah. So you extrapolate it to create this other thing.
And it's not that crazy, by the way. Early film theorists, like, you discover the montage by making very bizarre film experiments in the early 20th century. I feel like games, we're still figuring out how do you express things with the games, and I think making bizarre artworks is the way to figure it out. Yeah,
and you've done that.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, you've got a good track record. Yeah. I'm thinking, what was the name of your first?
Reflect.
Yeah. The reflection game, where you had to be mimicking, and that was kind of the way. Thing. Yeah, it was the whole thing.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a big party going on this Friday, and it's called the Sammys.
That's right.
And the Sammys is when the computer science department gets together and they award the best undergraduate game. Is that right?
Yeah, we have some ridiculous number of undergraduates that are going through the game design program, and they generate a large number of games just through their coursework each year, and so this is our way of showcasing the very best of those games, and then we do a big award show.
The big award show, folks, is this week, Friday, at the Rio Theater. It's free, but you've got to be signed up, so you got to pre-register. And there's going to be fabulous music.
Video game themed jazz, I believe.
Video game themed
Terminal
jazz.
Degree Band.
Yes. That's right, with Cheryl.
Yeah,
Chen. And I need to get Cheryl back on. I'm trying to remember. We talked about her coming on, but anyways, she's a saxophone player, and she plays jazz, and she's been playing the whole time while she's been doing her PhD program. She's hopefully, I believe, graduating in the next quarter. So not this quarter. It's just you and Chris Lewis. Mike Treanor and Chris Lewis will be getting their cloaks.
That's right.
This. Sunday,
yeah.
Sunday, and something really weird just happened. And then, yeah. So this Friday, the Sammys, It'll be a lot of fun. There's a great awards ceremony.
emceed by Jim Whitehead, right?
Yeah, he's the chair of our department, right?
That's right. He is the chair of the department. He created the department.
That's right. And he's also a fabulous MC and looks smashing in a tuxedo.
Oh yeah, and you're asking everybody who's listening. That's
well, this has become slightly of a bit of a tradition among the grad students. Is we go in whatever formal wear we can scrounge together.
Nice. So
as grad students.
You want to see some grad students in formal wear? Mega Man will work, and. Come this Friday at the Rio Theater. You can go to, I got all the information here. Hold on. You can go to games.soe.ucsc.edu /events. It's the 2013 Sammy Awards, and this is when our game designers get to put out get to be applauded for their work and their accomplishments. It showcases the best student games made during the year, and it includes games by the senior game design studio students and artists.
Which are currently being taught by John Romero. Like, the creator of Doom is now teaching at UC Santa Cruz. Like, cool.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, one of the best lectures that I saw at the last... our games department has done 2 symposiums. The first one was when Kate Compton and I met. It was the future of video games, and this year it was the interactive storytelling. And his wife,
Brenda Romero,
who is the first game designer in residence here at UCSC, gave an incredible talk. Listen, everybody, this has been wonderful. Mike, I wish you the best, the best, the best. I think this might be the last time you come on. But we won't say that. We'll figure out a way. We'll Skype you in from Washington, D.C.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.